Hockey Town, it's a place where dreams are found. We fought so many battles here, now we're the ones that they will fear. The cup resides within our town, we won't stop no letting down. The cup is ours, we're all to drink. It's our time, let's rock this ring.
Yo, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Hockey Town Rundown. You are here with us, your beautiful hosts, once again, Zach and Carlo. Carlo, it's damp and cold outside. It's a really rainy, really cold and rainy Sunday morning over here where I'm at. Apparently it is for you too over there in Canadian land. How you doing today, buddy?
Yes, it is. It is a really gray day. Raining like crazy. It's wet. It's cold. It's just one of those days where you stay inside. Perfect day to watch football. Perfect day for that. But overall, doing pretty good, buddy. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. The weather matches my feelings currently based on the Red Wings' last two games that they played that you guys can see, obviously, on our brand new scoreboard way up there. You can't see me pointing at it because of my background. But no, overall, my weekend's great. Just been chilling. Got to play with the dogs a lot. You know, same old, same old. But yeah, overall, the weekend was great, minus the two L's. The dub against the Chicago Blackhawks, obviously, earlier this week was huge to get. We got Detroit Lions Sunday night football against the Houston Texans. Jesus, wow.
Yeah, you got that one. That's a bit of a twister. I'll give that one to you.
This is why I'm a podcast host for NHL.
Texas Houston's?
I could have called them the Texas Oilers or something, You know, who knows? But yeah, welcome back to another episode of Hockey Town Rundown. Thank you for returning. For those who are returning, if you are brand new, thanks for stopping by. We really do appreciate it. If you haven't already, why don't you go ahead and hit the thumbs up button on this video if you are watching us on YouTube, and then hit that subscribe button. You can view us on Spotify and or listen to us on Spotify as well. And then you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts. Why don't you go ahead and rate us those 5 stars, hit the follow button on there. And Carlo, we'll go ahead and get underway because what do we got today? Well, we'll do the recap of the games, and then we're going to go jumping into the Red Wings news, the around the league news, and then the main topics, going over the top line heating up, Talbot'S dominance, and then are the Red Wings finding their groove? We'll go in depth about that further into this episode. So, Carlo, let's go ahead and jump into it, talking about the Red Wings versus the Blackhawks game, where Cam Talbot was in net. With this game, Alex DeBrincat did open up the scoring with 1 second left in the first period off a Dylan Larkin rebound, and they were outshot 10-6. Foligno ties it up thanks to Bertuzzi in the second. Then Dylan Larkin blows by the Hawks defense to make it 2-1 in the second. Joe Veleno makes it 3-1 off the tip of his blade and goes off a Blackhawks skate to go into the net in the third. And then Kopp seals the deal with an empty netter, 4-1. Overall, the goods in this game, Carlo, Larkin and Alex DeBrincat had 2 points, 1 goal, 1 assist for each. Talbot with 28 saves, a .966 goal against average. Larkin 3-game goal streak, and then Seider and Evanson were a +4. But yeah, overall, no, this was a really good game by the Detroit Red Wings. They took advantage of a Chicago Blackhawks team that's, you know, they're still kind of like quote unquote in a rebuild mode. They got some really great players on their team though. But yeah, overall, I thought the Red Wings took advantage of the domination and showcased why they should be outplaying teams like these moving forward. Carlo, your thoughts on the game against the Chicago Blackhawks?
So I thought it was a pretty good game. I really hate, you guys know this, like I hate the fact that we're continuously being outshot. At least in this game, I will say, because we have started to step up and close some gaps, which is huge. But against Chicago, obviously I'm taking those 2 points for sure. To me, that's a scheduled win when you look at the November schedule. So I'm glad that they were able to do that. I thought the top line looked good. DeBrincat, speaking of finding grooves, it really does seem like Larkin, DeBrincat, and Kane are really starting to set in and finally getting their legs, getting their passes to be nice and crispy. And overall, I think a continuous trend that we're going to talk about as we get into the other games is that the team, pretty much what I just said, like they seem to be finding their legs and they're able to complete more than 2 passes in a row. Why it took this long, your guess is as good as mine. I have my ideas, but they are what they are. But overall, great win. Like I said, we're going to take that. And I thought this was kind of a good sign of where this team was going against Toronto, even though they lost the Rangers last night, which we're going to get into because that was just crazy. But yeah, I thought this was kind of the upward trajectory game for the team taking a step in the right direction, trying to pull as much positives out of it as possible. But overall, I thought it was a good game. What's your take?
Yeah, for the month of November going into the game against the Chicago Blackhawks, the Red Wings were undefeated, which was great, but kind of like how you said it, the Red Wings definitely look like that they're improving overall, especially when it comes to breaking out of their own zone and entering into the offensive zone, the opposing team's defensive zone, and breaking out in there. So the offense, we're definitely seeing an uptick in success in terms of being able to produce more than what they were actually able to do in October. And we kind of talked about that off the record, right? Saying, was the sickness part of the Red Wings quote unquote downfall for the month of October? And based on this game, we can clearly say, and even the game against the Buffalo Sabres, that potentially was the case, right? But moving forward into this next game, that might change a lot of people's minds, where the Red Wings then versus the Toronto Maple Leafs with Talbot still in net because of how dominant that he's been, right? Especially like how it says down below. We did get word that Alex Lyon was out with a lower body injury, which then had Husso called up on emergency basis during this game as well. The Toronto Maple Leafs every year, obviously, they do the Hall of Fame, and Datsuk was introduced to the Hockey Hall of Fame. So congratulations to Pavel Datsuk, the Magic
Big
Man
time.
himself.
Big time. Love you,
those Datsukian Deeks, man. Honestly, Carlo, let's take a second and appreciate him, because I had the pleasure of meeting him. I think it was back in 2013. I had just started. I actually didn't even work my first day yet, but I started working at the local mall. I worked at Lakeside Mall in Macomb County of Michigan, working at Game Day Detroit. And yeah, I had the opportunity to go and meet him, which was super cool. Really great guy. His English really wasn't that bad when I met him either. Actually was shooting the shit with me a little bit. Pardon the language there, folks. But yeah, just what he means to people like you and I. For me, I can honestly say, and I'm 30 years old, so I've got to see other players, but this guy really did make me fall in love with the game of hockey, just the way he was able to perform on the ice, right? And just the slick moves that he was able to perform and strip the puck away from people. It gave me a love for the game of hockey more than what I actually appreciated it for beforehand, right? Winning all those cups, you really don't understand until now, right? Like how good you had it, right? So for me, Pavel Datsuk, I got a signed jersey that's framed by him. So congratulations to him once again. But Carlo, what does Pavel Datsuk mean to you?
Man, for me, Pavs was, I'm trying to say this as unbiasedly as possible. I feel like he was like the most addicting player to watch. And he really, like, I watch every game. I've been watching every game since I was 4. But like to go into whatever day it is, 7:30, when that time comes around, you just get so excited and pumped up to watch a guy like that play. And we're obviously so fortunate to have him play for us pretty much for his entire career, because he never suited up for the Coyotes. But he like made watching the Red Wings addicting, man, because like I feel like there was just something new that he did every single night. And for me, just in my hockey knowledge, like he's the player that really made me pay attention to playing defense as a forward. Like he really opened me up to like, wow, like there's not a lot of guys that are 200-foot players. I mean, there are today. Like it's been a while since Pavs has been gone, and there's obviously been a ton of players that have started coming up since he's been gone that are really, really dominating that 200-foot game. But I feel like he was like, I'm not going to call him the pioneer of it, but like modern day NHL, I feel like he kind of was. At least it was for me. Like he really made me pay attention to that. And then obviously when he was playing pure offense and just the things he would do, to get whether it be to make that play and get that primary assist, which all of his primary assists were absolutely disgusting, some just as good as his goals. And then, of course, his goals and the way he would score, and just the way he played. Like you couldn't get that guy off a puck. Just an all-around unreal player. Would not shock me if he's in a lot of, if not every single Red Wing fan's top 3. But I do feel like around the league, I kind of feel like he might be a little underrated too, in terms of how other hockey fans that are not Red Wing fans, but they're hockey fans, feel like he's a little under the radar, maybe a little bit underrated. But for me, he's a top 3 for me, man.
Yeah, I guess I would agree with you there. Maybe not saying the word underrated, but I do
know
think
it's I don't want to say it. Yeah, maybe that's the right word for sure.
Right, because it goes along with everything that you said. The way that he was able to not only dominate on the forward end, but on the defensive end as well. I mean, he could play all the spots, right? He could play left, he could play center, he could play right. It didn't matter to him. He just wanted to go out and play the game of hockey, and that's exactly what he did. It seemed, but you are right. He gave people a lot of reason to actually watch the games night in and night out, because you truly never knew what kind of Pavel Datsyuk you were gonna get, right?
That's it, man. Like I feel like he made the players around him better, but I feel like he elevated the league. Like every other player that was not on the Red Wings, he made them have to get better, because how do you defend a guy like that?
Who was it that he did that to his birthday in San Jose? Was that Couture that he made him fall on his?
Yeah, dude, that was hilarious.
See, situations like that and examples like that. No, I agree with you 100% that not only did he want to make the Red Wings fans watching be better players like him, but around the league too. I think he set a precedence for the entire league on how to be a really good two-way forward and the next NHL's generation of players. And we're seeing that, right? I mean, and it's so funny when you said that he elevates the players on his teams, and I think of Justin Abdelkader right out the gate.
There you go.
Right?
Yep. We know. Oh yeah.
It's like the Sidney Crosby effect, right? Where I think it was either Paul Bissonnette or whoever it was, the other guy on Spin Chicklets, who jokes about that all the time. Like, yeah, I got my contract because of Sid, right?
With Dog, yeah, and Justin Abdelkader got his because of Pabst.
Exactly.
Like, no doubt about it.
So
still bitter about that, but anyway.
Once again, congratulations to Pavel Datsyuk. That's a huge accomplishment. Going back into the game, let's go ahead and recap that. Carlo, in the first 2 minutes, Robertson scores, but the goal was called back to goaltender interference.
Yeah.
I guess we can talk about that a little bit. I thought it was a little soft, but it was the right call, right?
I'll be honest with you. I didn't watch a whole lot of the Leafs game. I was tied up. I was on in the background, but I honestly didn't see it. But I do know I heard Ken and Mick saying that I think it's Scarfone, who's the video coach for the Red Wings, is 3 for 3 when it comes to challenging goals. So I was obviously I was pumped about that. Good for him. Mm-hmm. But yeah, dude, I'll be honest, I didn't really see too much of this game. And I don't recall seeing that play. Obviously, I'm happy that it got called back, but looking at the final score, doesn't seem like that did us any favors.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was that initially brought the puck in, but yeah, they shot it, then ended up hitting Cam Talbot. At first, the way that you see it on the camera, right, as the game's going on, you can't really tell, it looked like maybe he hit his pad, but then when you had the video guys zoom in a little bit more on the replay, you can see that player was not only pushing on the pad of Cam Talbot and pushed him back a little bit, but did hit him in the head a little bit, so it made him turn a little bit. So
yeah, that'll do it.
So glad to see that was overturned, but like you said, Carlo, it really didn't mean much because the Leafs then ended up scoring thanks to Mitch Marner on the power play. Fisher couldn't pick up Marner coming in late. Dylan Larkin, though, does tie it up on the power play 1-1 with a heater in the faceoff circle, and smart pass and read by Raymond to get it back to Larkin. Both of them are just heating up right now, clearly, as it shows down below, along with Alex DeBrincat. Tavares then comes back and scores on the power play 2-1. Casper line, along with Gus and Aljo, stuck in their own zone for about a minute early in the third, but they did a really good job at maintaining it, right? So they really didn't give up too many opportunities to Toronto in that segment there. But you really don't want to see your players out there for that long, where it's damn near a minute long, right? Because you're just completely gassed at that point.
No
And
doubt.
they looked completely gassed. But I do at least want to give them props for being able to not allow them to get good opportunities and score. But nonetheless, the Leafs did get an empty netter 3-1. The Leafs did win. There was a point in time, I think there was like 2:11 on the clock left. And I remember saying this to myself, Derek Lalonde, you're already in their zone. You should pull Talbot right now. And he didn't until there was like a minute, maybe a minute and a half left on the clock, because the Red Wings were sticking in their zone.
I did see that part of the game. Where because he pulled Talbot when they were breaking out of their own zone, which they struggled to do.
Which was after that whole entire shift.
After that
they
sequence,
were actually
right.
Correct.
Yeah, that's a miss. That's a miss for sure. And I'm sure he would probably look back at that. I'm sure he'd want that one back, but
which is absolutely
I would hope.
Crazy.
I would hope.
Yeah, which is absolutely crazy, because you're right. You think it would change, which he did in last night's game, which we will talk about too. But it was just an unfortunate loss. The Red Wings definitely, to me personally, just the eye test. Numbers don't really showcase it that much. I mean, they did outshoot the Toronto Maple Leafs 22-20. They dominated them in the faceoff 57-43. They were 1 for 3 on the power play. They had 14 hits, block shots 18. They were outbeat in both of those, but still, that's a lot. I just think it was very unfortunate. So credit to Toronto's goaltending as well. But I thought the Red Wings played a really well game against the top Toronto Maple Leafs team over here in the Atlantic Division. I believe the Toronto Maple Leafs, they're second in the division. Their record's 9-5-2, while we're 6-7-1. So if the Red Wings can do that night in, night out, obviously we'd prefer a win. That would be better. But if they can continuously do this, then we're in a good spot here for the month of November. They actually did carry this into the Rangers game, Carlo. Me personally, I thought they did. They did have to put Ville Husso in net. Some were nervous. I'm just going to say it. I was nervous, right? What Ville Husso were we going to get, right?
Yeah.
Veleno was scratched in this game for Mott. Does that surprise you, Carlo?
No, I think Mott probably needed to get back into the lineup.
Yep.
And I think that it came down to Veleno or Berggren, but I think Berggren's been playing a little bit better than Joe Veleno. So I think Veleno just naturally becomes that odd man out. So it doesn't really surprise me, no. Somebody had to come out. It's definitely not being if anything, this solidifies Kasper's permanent spot in the lineup even more.
Mm-hmm.
But I really feel like if you had to name me 3 players that are the ones you would consider going out, it's going to be probably Kasper, which we know it's not actually going to be Kasper, Berggren, or Veleno. And it's Berggren's playing well. So Veleno's the guy.
Yeah, which is, we talked about it. We said Berggren would probably be the guy that you would move out, right? But we also mentioned Veleno also would be, because we said Kasper basically has already taken his spot, right? I mean, we see Kasper playing the 4C. Now he's pretty much solidified himself on the 3C.
Yeah.
Without playing on the second line with Comfer and Kane. Now, it was Raymond for the games previous to this, but now that they bumped Raymond back up to the top line, which is exactly what they need to do. We'll talk about that as we continue this. But I guess instead of the goalie carousel, it's now the forward carousel, right? Because I think the 3 players that you continuously rotate in and out would be Veleno, Mott, and Berggren at this point. But I agree with you overall that Berggren has been playing better than Veleno. And I said it too. Veleno picks and chooses, I believe at this point, when he wants to look fast, dominant, and skilled out there. Personally, it's like every 5 games or so.
I feel Veleno's just more expendable than Berggren. I think Berggren does have some skills, some offensive skills that Veleno just does not have. Not a shot at Joey V at all. It's just Berggren's a better offensive player. And I also think that you look at the line Berggren is on with Tarasenko and Kasper, and you actually, go back, and I'm visualizing now, like that line spends a lot of time in the offensive zone, whether they're grinding, board battling, or making some really slick plays, which I have seen. Kasper made a couple really, really nice plays. Berggren's made some nice plays, and it feels like that line is gelling. finding their groove, so to speak. And I'm really excited about that line. Get them more minutes, let them gel more. I think they're going to be really, really good. It just sucks that it's a really slow development with this team right now. And I think there are some bright spots for sure, that being one of them. But I don't want to go too off topic, but Veleno is just the kind of that odd man out right now. And same with Mott. And I do feel the carousel is going to kind of rock between those two guys until something else gets solidified or something else gets done.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. Like I mentioned, Wings did finally put Raymond back on the top line, which is super nice. He belongs there. We saw the dominance right out the gate within the first period on that top line, right? It's just something about it. And this is not to discredit Kane, but he just did not seem like that he was fitting well with the pace of the game, the way it was going. And so pushing him down to the second line. Some may even argue it might be time to put Kane onto that third line.
Man, you just read my mind, because I was like, dude, I swear to God, Tarasenko, Kasper, Kane just flashed into my mind as that third line.
Going into the game, though, the Rangers score on the power play because the Wings PK can't stop the puck. That is a huge issue with this Detroit Red Wings team. Their power play certainly has done a lot better. They've increased their play. They're one of the better power play teams in the league right now, which is super awesome. And I give credit to us because we called out the coaches a few episodes ago, and I think that's working magical wonders for us, Carlo. I think they listened to our episode that day. But the Wings, I mean, outside of the first, they looked like the better team, right? Yeah. But the Wings got completely hosed the whole entire second period with multiple scoring chances and lots of posts involved throughout this game too. And somehow, even in the second still, the Rangers somehow scored 2 goals to make it 3-0 very quickly. And then the third period, the Wings pull their goalie with like 4 minutes left. And then they score an empty netter, making it 4-0. And that goes back to how we talked about in the last game against the Leafs, where he didn't pull the goalie until like a minute 30. And then this game, you're pulling him with 4 minutes left. You're down 3 goals. Alone. Like, what are you doing here? This is where I'm confused. Like, is he just not making the right calls right away? Is this something he still needs to learn? You've been the head coach for 3 seasons now. So don't you think you should know when to pull your goalie based on how your team performs and what they can actually do? So I'm not exactly sure there, Carlo, on how to answer that for him.
I'm not sold on Derek. You know this. I'm not sold on him whatsoever. There's just been even last season, he made so many questionable moves. One thing I found very interesting was I'm pretty sure I heard Ken and Mick say this. Don't quote me on the numbers, but the scoring chances at the end of the games: Detroit 17, New York Rangers 6. Like, we dominated that game. Call it bad luck, call it whatever you want. Like, we truly dominated the Rangers. So the second period, especially, we did quite well. I just think that when, I'm going to comment on hits, and I'm going to shout out a source that I've been talking with who's been calming my nerves. So if you're watching, thanks, buddy. We talked about hits and the lack of, and whether I'm reading into that too much, and maybe I am. But I mean, I called out the fact that like Detroit had 5 hits against the Rangers. But
compared to their 25.
However, the Wings dominated them. The Wings had the puck a lot. They were snapping it around. Again, back to the whole main point of finding their groove. Like, the Wings were flying out there, and they were able to complete more than 2 passes consecutively. So, yeah, I can understand the hits being down, but let's just zone in on those 6 scoring chances that New York had. Like, why isn't it full operation hit mode? Go after that guy. And I feel like that's the gap that's defensively anyways that's happening with this team, is they're just soft, man. Like, they are super soft when they're playing in their own zone. Like, go and smash that guy and get the puck. It's a simple, easy ask. And I know it's harder and it's easier said than done. I get it. But like, how many games have to go by before it's like realized by the coaching staff? And I guess I'll bring it back to Lalone here. It's like what more needs to be said, or what hasn't been said yet to like make this crystal clear to the guy or to your defensive guys, considering how much of a defensive minded coach you are. Like, hitting is one of the top characteristics of playing defense. So, I get the overall hits were low because the Wings had the puck, which is great. But to me, that's still really kind of stands out to me because there were times where the Wings didn't have the puck and they doesn't look like they really hit anybody. So, I mean, that's a concern for me. But
yeah, no, I mean, I would agree. I would agree with you. It's not a. It is, but it's not a concern. I mean, you clearly want your team to be
it's
aggressive
nitpicking.
out there, right?
It is 100% nitpicking. Like, I'll call a spade here, but it just bothers me so much, man.
No, and everyone has that right to nitpick, right? Everyone has that one little thing that they're like, wow, I wish the Red Wings would be better at this. I wish that they would do this, they do that. But
well, I just feel it would be a big difference maker. Like, personally, I really believe that watching these games, I feel like when you're in the defensive, when you're in the Red Wing zone, you need to anticipate that you are going to get your ass beat. That's what I'm not seeing from this team, and that's what I want to see from this team. A tough, rock'em sock'em decor.
Well, and I talking about the defense, and I guess just in general the team, because the forwards also had to provide defense, which I do believe they're doing a better job than last year. Yep. But I do want to talk about this: is that the Red Wings specialize, personally to me, I think they specialize in losing track of the players that they're actually supposed to cover, because that does seem like the type of goals that they're allowing in, not so much on the PK, but on 5-on-5. And it does not help that the Red Wings aren't producing 5-on-5 very well, right? Yeah. They do get their opportunities, but they're not putting them in the back of the net like they're supposed to. And that goes in hand with this New York Rangers game. And especially even on the power play too, they couldn't get it done. But yeah, the Red Wings outshot them 37 to 24 shots. I mean, just in the second period alone, it was 19-8. The Red Wings did a really good job. If you put this blame on Husso, I don't see a reason to do that. I actually thought Ville Husso looked very fine this game. I'm not going to use the word good because he really didn't get that many opportunities to save some major quality goals against, right? Like the shooting opportunities, there were a couple, but I wouldn't put this blame on Ville Husso. I would put it on PK. So that goes back to Bob, right? Bob Boner, whatever his name is, Boobner. I'm going to call him that. Yeah. That guy, Carlo, I'm just going to say it again. I feel like I got to say this every episode. This guy's got to go. It's clearly not working. The last time I looked, I think they were 30th or 31st in the league on the PK. They could be dead last now at this point, based on the way that they continuously play. And that, to me, that goes back to the defense, because you look at some of the pairings. You got Sherrod and Petrie on your PK defending this team. But you look at even last season, I was always hypercritical on Jake Wallman on the PK. He always did a really bad job on guarding the guy back door and wasn't aggressive enough. But it goes back to even what you were saying. When you're on the PK, when you're out in front of the net, you have to lay out those players. You know, you got to do what you got to do. You got to be more aggressive. We even said that about Simon Edvinsson. But I do apologize to whoever did post this on Twitter yesterday. I did see it. I didn't bookmark it. I didn't like it for whatever reason. So if you are watching this, you can go ahead and take credit. Just comment down below and let us know what you think about this episode so far too. Take a second and do that, everyone viewing and
Please
watching.
do.
But no, whoever posted this, thank you. And I'm just going to try and say it to the best of my ability if I remember properly. Carlo, last year at this time within 14 games, the Red Wings had 55 goals against, I believe that the number was, and everyone can correct me if I'm wrong, obviously, if they want to go looking back. Our goals for was 50. Right now, currently, I think we have 34 goals for, and then we have 43 goals against. We're clearly playing better defense, but much like how everyone said, our goal scoring has dropped because of that, right? But I will agree. I think our defense does look better. And if we can figure out the PK situation and then convert our 5-on-5 to produce more goals, what do you think about those numbers, though, within the first 14 games of the season?
Very interesting numbers. And I think the reason why the goals for are what they are is because they're doing a better job with the goals against. So, like, I guess I would kind of, it doesn't surprise me. And I guess I would fully expect if the goals against are down with this decor, then I would definitely expect the goals against, or sorry, the goals for to be down as well, because that means you have your forwards and your offensemen playing better defensively. So that very interesting though, man. That is, I guess, that's a good sign.
Yeah, not something that I actually would have thought of on my own to go back and look. So thank you to once again to whoever did post that. I'm
Yeah,
sorry I
that's
can't give you
awesome.
credit, but that was great stuff for doing that. But overall though, Carlo, I mean, you look at the offense like these last 3 games that we just touched on. One thing I noticed, and I think I mentioned this earlier, their breakouts out of their zone, they're looking a lot better than they did in the month October, right? I think we're starting to see a little uptick in the offensive side. So this month of November, I mean, like Travis and I said, we believe that there are 9 winnable games this month. The New York Rangers and the Toronto, I believe I probably scheduled those and marked those down as L's regardless. Maybe OTLs nonetheless, but still, yeah, I don't think that we should be worrying too much because based on the way that schedule looks, you still got to play against a team like the Ducks. And then I think you play the Chicago Blackhawks one more time. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but
They have the Western road trip this month too, right? Where they're going out to Cali. Those are always brutal trips for the Wings.
they are. But do you know what else is brutal? We thought, or I said it to my buddy Jeff. I said, do you know what else is brutal? Is how bad the Red Wings play on the second or the back end of a back-to-back, right? And against the New York Rangers, they shut my mouth right up, right? They came out, they balled out. Obviously, they still lost, but
They played that start. I think I messaged you guys. I'm like, what team is this? Like,
yeah,
and that's the thing with this team. It's like, can they replicate that? Like, can they do that
night in, night out.
night in, night out? Because to see it once and then not see it again for a week, that is very frustrating. Like, you know what I mean? But I'm hoping that, like, you kind of alluded to this, they found their legs, and that's a credit to their start last night. Like, they found their legs. They were flying. They're able to complete passes now. Like, they're able to they're an NHL team now. I would give them that. They're just at this point, they're just snake bitten. I think they all want it really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it'll come. I think there's going to be that game where the levee breaks and they're going to score their goals. It just wasn't against this. It wasn't. It would have been great for it to been against the Rangers because, to your point, scheduled loss for sure. It just sucks because of how good they played as a team. Like, they actually looked good, except for Jeff Petrie. I'm going to call Jeff Petrie out on that Panarin goal.
Dude,
where were you, dude? You were at the top of the faceoff circle when Panarin was in. Like, where are you going, man? Like, that was very frustrating to see. And I do think Husso probably wants that goal back. But when I see Jeff Petrie at the top of the circle and Panarin is roofing it where Grandma keeps the cookies, Jeff, what are you doing? Like, come on, buddy. Anyways, just wanted to put that in there because that was brutal. Anyways, yeah, I don't know. Overall, I'm that's a loss that I'm okay with because of how well they played. So please keep finding your legs, keep making those plays, you're going to score. Just keep this going. Don't go backwards for the love of Mickey Redmond.
I feel Marco Kasper hat trick incoming. His first goal is going to be an NHL hat trick.
It's going to come, man. Well, hey, you know what? He looks good.
He does.
He looked really good. Raymond looked unreal. DeBrincat even looked really tenacious
Kane.
I felt so bad for him, man. He was so frustrated.
Yeah.
Just so many opportunities, so many chances. It was unbelievable. It'll come. It's going to come.
Even Simon Edmondson and Moritz Seider, they had a couple opportunities to rush into the offensive zone, and provide some offensive opportunities for the team. But yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but that's the one L that I'll walk away happy with because based on the way the Wings play. But yeah, moving forward, they got to play like that night in, night out. Shut down your opposition and just flourish on the offensive and defensive end, and your goaltending will still stand on their head. So. All right, Carlo, that's enough for the Red Wings scoreboard updates. And then let's go into the Red Wings news. Just got one thing I just want to say. Axel Sandin Palika gets the C for Sweden's U20 team in the Five Nations tournament. And then that first game that they played, they did win 5-4 in overtime. ASP had a goal and assist.
Of course,
kid's a freak of nature, dude. Yeah. There's no way that he's going to Grand Rapids. I should say it like this, though. I don't think next season we see him start in Grand Rapids. I think he completely makes the jump. to the Detroit Red Wings. But I do see an opportunity where Grand Rapids does get a little look at him once they start making their playoff push and the SHL season is wrapping up. But who knows? Maybe they win their league again, Skellefteå. So would love to see him get a second championship underneath his belt with MBN. So that would be really cool. And then going into around the league news, just one thing as well, really quickly. The NCAA has granted its D1 hockey athletes the option to play major junior hockey without losing eligibility rights. I think that's huge. I think that's really good for players to being able to have more leverage in what they get to do with their careers overall, right? So I don't know if you want to touch on that real quick.
Makes sense. It's just that's a make sense move. Why hasn't this been the case for a long time?
Greedy.
Yeah, I know. Come on.
That's why. Well, could you imagine? I mean, I don't foresee someone like Connor Bedard saying no, I want to go play college, right? I mean, there might be a little better talent there, but you pick and choose, right? But
that's just the whole point. The whole exactly. Just having the options. Come on.
Yep. So, all right, Carla. Well, let's go into the main topics. The main topics obviously are down below. The top line's heating up. Talbot is dominating. We're going to talk about each player on the top line and how they're doing, and then we're gonna talk about is this team finding their groove, so to say. So but I do want to say this, Lucas Raymond first. So let's break it down by player. Let's start with Lucas Raymond. He just got put back onto the top line. Going back to what we were saying, he's got to stay up there. They just look so much better with him up on the top line, and that's no disrespect to Kane, but it is just overall a better fit. And we saw that in the New York Rangers game, right? So, but Lucas Raymond with 72 goals, 114 assists for 186 points, you can add one more onto that since this was released. This came out after the Buffalo Sabres game, I believe. 186 points through his first 250 NHL games. Only two players over the past 25 years have posted as many points through their first 250 NHL games with Detroit. Carlo, do you know who those two players are?
I'm gonna guess we're talking about a guy we already mentioned who's in the Hall of Fame, and just this other guy. I think his name's was it Henrik? What's his last name?
I think it was Hank Zetterberg or something.
Setter. Yeah. You know what? It was Zetterman. That's who it was.
Zinnerman?
Pabs and Hank, dude. Pabs and Hank for sure. And that's a huge credit to Ray and a big testament to him. And that guy I'm so happy with Lucas Raymond, man. He is awesome.
And credit to the lottery balls not falling into our favor. Could you imagine if we had Alexis Lafreniere over Lucas Raymond if we did get that first overall pick? I mean, but going and talking about Datsuk, 69, 130 for 199, and then Henrik Zetterberg, 88, 104 for 192. So he's in fantastic company right there, right? And
superstar in the making, man. Lucas Raymond is a superstar in the making.
He really is. And even though he's only got one goal so far this season, he's just now below a point per game average, which this guy, Carlo, I really do believe that he can be well above a point per game player so far this season. I mean, based on the way that he's collected the points so far and the way that he's able to help set up his teammates to get into the scoring opportunities. Dylan Larkin has 9 goals. Alex DeBrincat has 6, I believe. It could be 5. I think it's 6. But the way that it's almost like he's becoming like a Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner can score goals, yes, but he does collect the assists left and right? So this guy, I really do believe that he could be well over a point per game player this season. Is that something that you would agree with me on?
100%, yes. Yeah.
But what's that going to take for him to get there? Obviously, is it the surrounding players, or is it something that he's just got to keep on doing what he's currently doing? Because to me, I don't think he has to make any changes. I think the team around him might have to make some changes, because I think the way that he's been playing, and I said this actually in our group chat before this game. Actually, it was currently while the game was going on. But Lucas Raymond in the month of November going into the game, he only had 2 shots on net.
That was what I was going to fire back with. Is all Lucas Raymond needs to do is be a little greedy and shoot the puck. but he does need a better supporting cast around him as well. Or at least he needs the current supporting cast to elevate their game to match Lucas's, because he is way ahead of them when it comes to game time, game mode, the mindset. In my opinion, when he hits the ice, he's hitting the ice a lot differently than everybody else on that team, man. Maybe not Marco Kasper. Kasper's hitting the ice pretty hard.
No, and it goes back to where you say he deserves to be on that top line, because you look at the second line and yeah, you did have Patrick Kane on there with him and not Patrick Kane, sorry, but you had Comfer and Kopp, which Kopp absolutely should not be on that second line. I think that is the stupidest decision that Derek Lalonde could have ever made. There's no reason for that. There was a
Derek Lalonde needs to stop playing the money. Kopp's making this much, he's got to be on the second line. Like, no, he doesn't. He's a fourth line centerman. Anyways, that's just how I feel about that. Comfer, Raymond had zero chemistry. Zero.
Yeah, because primarily the points that Lucas Raymond was getting on being on the second line was coming from being on the power play, right? That's where he was collecting his points. I mean, in the last 5 games, he's 0-5. He's got 5 points in his last 5 games. Then you look at someone like Dylan Larkin. It's the exact same thing where he's actually got 6 points in his last 5 games, 5 goals, 1 assist. And then you look at someone like Alex DeBrincat, who's got 5 points in his last 5 games, 2 goals, 3 assists. And majority of these, they're coming off of the power play. They got to connect a little more 5-on-5, and that's going to come. But we are seeing it right now in front of us, right? And that's the question. Are the Red Wings finding their groove? The top line is now, and I think the goaltending has had their groove, right? But is the rest of the team finding their groove? But yeah, the Red Wings, they are, but they're not at the same time, Carlo. They have to make some changes. It goes back to the PK. Derek Lalonde needs to get a handle more on the 5-on-5. But like we talked about with the New York Rangers game, they had it. They had it. And give credit when credit is due to Jonathan Quick. I believe it was Ryan Hanna from Wing Wheel Podcast. He said, 2012, Jonathan Quick decided to come out and play tonight. And he did.
Quick, listen, I think there was only one game where we solved Quick, and it was in like 2009 when our roster was solid. Every other game, every other time we've went up against Quick, I'm pretty sure he's shut the door on us and he's been unsolvable.
Yeah.
It's just there's certain players that do that to the Detroit Red Wings. But yeah, Jonathan Quick looked unreal. Like he looked like Jay Quick from whatever, 2012. Like that's great comment there. But truly, like you talked about, we need some changes. I think personnel wise, like if you have Andrew Kopp in your top 6, then you clearly need a top 6 player. And to your point earlier with Patrick Kane even going down to the third line so that he can pace himself and match the level of play to really shine, we need 2 top 6 players. Like we're 2 top 6 players away, and we are probably half of our defense needs to be retooled as well.
Yeah.
Like those are the changes that need to be made. Are those changes going to happen this year? No. Are those changes going to happen next year? Probably not. The year after that, maybe. And that's banking on some of our prospects coming through and Steve Yzerman hiring new North American pro scouts to actually give him some talent. So, it's funny. I kind of got blasted for this online, but I'm like, if this is the team, we're 3 to 5 years away still. And when you look at the lineup, and if what I'm thinking in my mind with needing 2 top 6 players still and needing 50% of our defense to be replaced, 3 to 5 years actually kind of seems a little realistic, and it's sad.
I guess it just really all depends. Like
I'm talking about Ben Sherratt, Justin Hall, and Aaron Gustafsson, and Jeff Petrie.
Well, the best part is that not all those guys are going to be here long term, right?
For sure.
But I do want to bring this up. We're kind of going down a rabbit hole. We're switching up everything, but that's okay. This is a great discussion, but I do think that there might be an opportunity this upcoming offseason because of what Kasper has been able to do. And I do think that the point production is going to come further along this season. He's got 1 assist so far in the games that he's played, but I think Andrew Kopp, there's an opportunity offseason where you could ship him off, whether if that's a trade or a buyout. I really do believe that. I think there is a team out there that would love to have him as a 3C. We unfortunately just don't have that right now.
We'd have to retain money.
Maybe, but anything is doable with this cap going up. I think anyone who would like someone who could play in the 3-2 seed, because that's what we did when we were in the rebuild mode. I don't even know if we still are. I'm going to say no. I don't think we're rebuilding anymore. But if you go and look for a team that is still in that spot where they need someone to fill that gap as the 2/3 seed for the few years that you have left on Kop's contract, they might take that. I really do believe that. Someone like San Jose comes into mind. Who knows? But there are teams out there that would love the veteran leadership and the type of good two-way guy like he is, but he just doesn't bring the points that we expected him to bring like he did when he played with the Winnipeg Jets, right? And so
crazy. But I also think he's playing a completely different role too, though.
Yeah.
Like he really is. It's just, I don't know. It's just weird. It's just weird. You know, I was just, the reason I brought this up, and we probably derail a little bit, is just I was looking at the groupings and the forward lineup, and I can't believe I'm seeing Andrew Kopp on the second line. I just can't believe I'm seeing that.
Let's talk about Dylan Larkin and how he's, dude, I honestly feel like that he's starting to put the team on his back a little bit. 9 goals. He's currently on pace. I believe it was like 55 goals when I checked it this morning just to double check. Yeah, he's on pace for 53 goals, 12 assists for 65 points this season. Carlo, do you think that there is a legitimate shot that Dylan Larkin could get his first 40 goal season and be a point per game player again?
Yeah, I think if Dylan stays healthy and he gives us 82 games, yeah, I do think for sure it's possible. I think he's responding very well to Derek Lalonde's call out of him, because ever since that, it really seems like he did find his legs. So yeah, I think if he keeps up whatever path he's on right now and he stays healthy, which knock on wood he does, yeah, I really can see that happening, man.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely taken over, and like you said, the call out from Lalonde, and it wasn't really like a call out, but it's like, hey, like you're like it was, right? Like, hey, like you gotta be the guy for this team, right? It's no one else's team but yours, and you gotta set an example for everyone else too, right? And I think that trickled down to a lot of these players. Like it goes off to Lucas Raymond. I think Lucas Raymond is trying to showcase to us that next season he wants to get an A. I think a lot of people actually respect him in the locker room and on the ice too, right? But then also,
yeah.
But then I also look at someone like Alex DeBrincat. I think the Larkin call out that trickled down to him too, because he's starting to pick it up and find his groove as well. And he's currently on pace for 35 goals, 35 assists, and 70 points. Could we see Alex DeBrincat break that 30 goal mark this season, Carlo?
That's a tough one for me. I want to say yeah, but I guess I don't have the amount of confidence that I had in saying yes right away when you asked me about Larkin. I think it's possible for ADB to do it for sure, but it's just one of those things that remains to be seen, I guess. But if I had to say yes or no, I'm gonna say yes, but a lot of things need to get shaped up. I love how you had a hard time deciding if Derek Lalonde called out Dylan Larkin. That's my point on why I think Derek Lalonde is soft. Because it's well, he kind of called him out, but he didn't, blah, blah. It's like, no, like it's call people out, Derek.
It wasn't the same way that the Boston Bruins head coach did it to Brad Marchand.
He did it in a softer way because he's soft. That's all. I was just trying to that's the point I'm trying to make here with Derek Lalonde. Like, harden up, man. Stop treating these guys like they're snowflakes. Like, come on. They're playing like shit. Tell them they're playing like shit.
Do you think when the Red Wings are finally at the point, let's say that they're like a Florida Panthers, right, where they're always expected to make deep runs, do you think that's when we would see Derek Lalonde call them out on their shenanigans a little bit more?
Well, I think that's I don't. I don't think he's capable of being a hard ass. I just think he's a soft coach, and that's his MO.
Just 10-ply toilet paper from Costco?
10-ply, buddy. He's lucky if he's 2-ply. Go to hit any highway, go to the rest stop. I'm talking 1.5-ply max.
1.5-ply. Oh my God. That sounds
Yeah,
horrible.
I just think he's. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I look around the league and I see these hard ass coaches, and that's what I desire so much. Because if you treat this team, dude, think about it, man. If you treat anything with that soft approach, you're getting a soft product. And I just feel like we're leaning towards being a soft product, and it kills me.
Well, thank goodness that we have a 37-year-old goaltender that can at least help that soft tissueness, right? That this team is putting out on the ice via the coaches, right? Because Cam Talbot, man, let me tell you, I mean, I thought he looks really great in the month October with 4 wins, 2 losses, 1 overtime loss, 17 goals against, 240 goals against per game average, and then a 926 save percentage. Carlo, in the month of November alone, he's got 2 wins, 1 loss, 4 goals against, 135 goals against average, and a 950 save percentage. Right now, currently, his goals against is 5th in the National Hockey League. His save percentage is 4th as well. And then shutouts, he's tied for 5th. He's got 1 shutout. So with the game last night, if you replace Cam Talbot with Husso, do you think that would have made any changes in this game?
He would have probably had that. Honestly, I think he probably would have had that Panarin goal, because I feel like that's the one goal that probably was the most savable. So I still think we would have lost. I just think it would have been.
We didn't score, of course. Like it wouldn't have mattered either way. So I think that's kind of like a waste of a question to ask, right? But I did see people saying that, like, someone asked it online, and it's like, well, what does it matter? We didn't score. So maybe if it was like a 1
exactly,
type of game where it was a lot closer, that would have made a difference. But Carlo, what does it mean to have a goaltender like this? I mean, it's almost similar to how Alex Lyon was performing for us last season. How does it feel to finally have, and I want to be cautious about saying this, but I'm going to do it. How awesome does it feel to have 2 goaltenders that are doing fantastic in the NHL for us right now, based on the way that the rest of the team is playing?
Having 2 is great, because last year, had we had that, we're a playoff team. So yeah, having 2 is awesome, and obviously a big credit to Talbot and Lyon, because they're both playing really, really good. Hopefully Lyon's lower body injury isn't too bad, and he's back in action soon. But it's really good. We're really lucky, and we're lucky that Talbot's panning out as well. I think we knew what we were getting with Lyon coming into this season, considering what he did for us last season.
Mm-hmm.
But to have Talbot come in and start to find his groove, yeah, that's huge. That is very, very big. Now it comes down to sustainability. Like, we hopefully we don't bury both of these guys. That's the only thing.
And I don't believe that would be the case. I mean, depending on how long Alex Lyon is out, hopefully it's just day to day at this point. Yeah. But even Alex Lyon, he's in his 6 games, he's a 2.78 goals against average and a 916 save percentage with 2 wins, 3 losses. And you look at the win and the L, the dub and the L columns, right? And I'm not particularly trying to look at those under a microscope, right? It's how well are they playing out there night in and night out? And both of them are feeding off of each other. This is the type of tandem that we expected, or at least hope to expect, out of this team, right? And they're absolutely performing to those expectations. But do you think that there is a clear indicator on who is the starting goaltender for this team, or the number 1 goaltender, or is it still technically like a 1A, 1B type of situation?
Oh, I still think it's 1A, 1B for sure. I don't think either of them have secured a start, and I don't think we're going to see a starting goaltender with this team until Sebastian Cossa comes up. Granted that his trajectory continues and he continues to dominate and really break down the door. That's when I think Detroit has a starting goaltender. But until then, it's 1A, 1B, ride the hot hand. At least it should be.
I'm really glad that you brought up Cossa, because I did want to bring this up. Are you disappointed, or whatever word you want to use, that Husso was called up over Cossa?
No, I'm not. I think it needed to be Husso. Let's face it, Husso's played well with Grand Rapids.
Mm-hmm.
Husso's earned the NHL goaltender hashtag that is attached to his name. So
Yeah.
you call up Ville Husso. Would I have loved to see Kosa come up? Yeah. I don't think we're going to see that this season. I certainly would not ever think about calling Kosa up in front of his D-core anyway. I think there's changes need to be made before Kosa comes up. And again, unless he's playing out of his mind, which, I mean, I think I'm a big Kosa fan. I think he is. And I think he's going to continue to do that. Let him stay. Let him do his thing. Let him get the starts. So call up Husso. Let Husso get in that one game while Kosa's playing game after game after game, getting better and better and better. And then maybe next year he becomes, maybe he's up next year in a backup role, or maybe he's the 1B. And then eventually I think he's going to definitely be the starting goaltender of this team. I don't think it's going to be the exact time he gets called up to Detroit. But I think within 2 years of him being called up or him being a 1B, within the 2 years from that point, he will 100% be the Detroit Red Wings starting goaltender. And that's when Detroit will have a starting goaltender for sure.
Yeah, Talbot is signed, going into next year as well. So that's going to be right. You won't have Husso. You won't have Alex Lyon signed to the books. So Kosa would be technically the second man as the goaltender on the Detroit Red Wings roster, right? But I definitely see a world where the Red Wings go out there and still sign an Alex Lyon type of goaltender, right?
If not Alex Lyon, they could bring him back they absolutely.
And that's not to say we're doing this because we don't have faith in Kosa, but because we want there to be internal competition, right? And be able to push each other. And even if Kosa didn't make the Red Wings next season, that just gives him more firepower to ball out in GRG, right? In the AHL. But I agree with you overall. I don't think you can be upset that Kosa wasn't called up. Someone was asking about it and someone brought it up. And I had to say, well, because of the back-to-back and because the Grand Rapids are playing Rockford that Friday night, Rockford always gives Grand Rapids a tough time. So, and then you look at the teams that the Red Wings played against, the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Rangers, it's like, based on this defense and the way that the Wings are playing, is it really the smartest to put Kosa in this type of situation where you look at someone like Jesper Wallstedt, who was snowed on pretty much? I don't know what word to use. I'm just going to say snow.
Yeah.
He got buried whenever he got the call up with the Minnesota Wild. And I don't want that for Kosa. And just like how you said it, this defense, that's exactly what would happen to someone like Sebastian Kosa. And I would love to be proved wrong, but I'm gonna call you out. I'm gonna say I disagree. I think we might see an opportunity with Kosa. Obviously, it's gonna have to come down to injuries. I don't think it's just because, oh, Kosa, you're just playing so well, we have to call you up right now, right? I don't think it's gonna be something like that, and I'd love to be proved wrong. But I will disagree with you that I do believe that we'll actually see him for a game or two, and we might actually see that based on it comes down to what's wrong with Alex Lyon. It is just a lower body. Hopefully, it's just day to day, but. World's weird, man. NHL too. Injuries happen all the time. Yep. So we'll just have to wait and see. And Talbot's old. He's not getting any younger. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't have called up Kosa. I think Husso was the right call. He was playing very well in Grand Rapids for them. So, and he deserved it. Yeah. Other than that, Carlo, I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else that you want to touch on before we finish up this episode?
No, man, I think we covered it all. Back to the beginning. Let's hope that these guys are really finding their groove. And I guess this is my final thought as well. Let's really hope that these guys are finding their groove now. It's really nice to see them making passes that are somewhat sticking and getting better. And it's obviously good to see that their legs are finally warmed up. Welcome to November, boys. Season started a month ago, but hey, I digress. We'll take what we can get. Let's just hope they can continue to repeat this stuff. And, I would like there to be more good games with quality play, with some heart, with some tenacity, than those games that just look super lackluster. So hopefully they kind of rid of those bad habits. Hopefully it was the flu, and hopefully that's gone. I mean, get these guys echinacea, get these guys tea, green tea, get them everything you can get them and keep them healthy. Because if this is what a healthy Detroit Red Wings team is going to play like night in, night out, I'm here for it.
Oh, yeah.
And, hey, maybe there is a chance. But it's just way more needs to be seen on a consistent level. So let's hope they're finding their groove.
Yeah, I believe so too. And so great final thoughts. My final thoughts, just going into it. The Red Wings are going on a 4-game away streak. They'll be playing the Pittsburgh Penguins this upcoming Wednesday on the 13th, following up with a game against the Anaheim Ducks on Friday. Then they play the LA Kings on Saturday. That's an 8 p.m. game, which is super fantastic for us.
That is good.
So 5 p.m.
I don't watch 10 o'clock games anymore, brother. Can't do it. But the 8 o'clock one can do.
You could do that for the Anaheim game. That's on a Friday night. You're not that old.
It's at 8 or it's at 10?
So the Anaheim on Friday is at 10. The game
dude, it's Groundhog Day for me. I'm up at 6 every day. It's literally like it's just not possible.
Embedded it, Yeah. And then they play the Kings on Saturday at 8 o'clock. And then they'll play the San Jose Sharks that following Monday on the 18th at 10:30 p.m. Jesus Murphy. Okay, yeah, that's going to be a rough game. I'm going to be sleepy boy on the following Tuesday. But my final thoughts are, the Red Wings seem to be finally gelling, grooving. Carlo always says gel, so now that's stuck in my brain. But I think that the Red Wings, they're grooving, they're finding their way. You definitely need to figure out what to do with Andrew Kopp at this point, because being on the third line clearly wasn't working. That's why he got replaced with Casper. It's not working on the second line, even though he's got 7 points so far this season.
Put him on the fourth line. Wow.
Hey man, I don't make the rules. I'm just someone who just
kind of wish you did. I really did. At this point, I wish you did.
But what's it going to take for the rest of this team? Who's going to be that forward that actually takes that next step? We are seeing a lot of progress with players like Berggren. I think eventually we'll finally see him getting on the scoreboard. Same thing with Marco Casper. And that's the other thing too, Carlo, that we never really touched on. Once these guys finally start finding their ultimate groove is when I think the Red Wings are going to be 100% gelling and grooving along the way. I would say they're about at 80% right now. I think it's a little bit better now that they're not down with the sickness. They're actually up with it. So very cool to see. But those are my final thoughts. And I want to stop and say thanks for taking the time to view this episode. If you are brand new, but if you're returning, thanks for returning. We definitely appreciate it. If you're watching us on YouTube, why don't you go ahead and hit that thumbs up button? We really do appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button if you have not already. And if you're listening to us on Spotify or on Apple, why don't you go ahead and rate us the 5 stars and then hit that follow button. We know you guys are watching us a lot on those, or at least listening to those. I keep on getting it mixed up. But always leave a comment on our YouTube channel. You can on Spotify. I really get those notifications late, so I do apologize if we don't respond right away. But you can always contact us on our socials too, which is right up here. We are very engaged on the Twitter sphere, or the X sphere, formerly known as Twitter. So contact us, reach out to us. We love engaging with the folks. So, and until next time, we'll see y'all on the next one.
See ya.